Today we're going to have a little history lesson. We're going to talk about StableFund and Optimus, and does history repeat itself? Okay, first up, let's talk about StableFund. A lot of people know that they pulled all the funds out of the contracts and they're giving out refunds. I know that there's already reports of people getting their refunds, and that's great. But I also have been kind of creeping on the Telegram group and seeing so many people so willing to just jump into V2, and that's fine. You know, make your own decisions. You can do what you want. If you feel it's safe, that's fine. Everybody has a different risk tolerance and a different perspective, and that's okay. But just know, I just want to provide the history, especially if there's a lot of people on this channel that were not here in the early days of my channel. It was just earlier this year, that there's a history with stable, whatever they want to call themselves. Back then it was Stable 1. So let me talk to you about what happened. Back in January, Stable 1, they started an ROI DApp, and it was something like 8% a day, something like that. Anyway, you can go back in my videos and see a lot of experiences that I had with them back then. It was Ray or Michael. I'm not quite sure because people still call him Ray, and he also said his name is Michael, but nobody's really sure what his name actually is. Anyway, what happened is they started with V1. It was complete ROI, complete ponzinomics, and they were handing out like 8% a day. And a few days in, I noticed like a little bit of gas fees were creeping up. So I'm like, what the heck is happening? So I looked at the contract, found a huge problem, and after about 10 days or so, or 10 compounds, you had this looping problem where like compounded the transactions, and it got to the point where people couldn't even withdraw anymore because Polygon has a limit. And they have a limit for a reason, and their team still kind of blames everything on Matic. And there's actually a reason there is a limit. I don't know if they don't understand it or their developers don't understand it. But anyway, it caused so people could not withdraw their funds, and they had to provide refunds. This is not the first time Stable whatever is providing refunds. They did it back in V1. And that's not the worst part about it. Like, I understand, Ponzi's, and they're great, and they can be, a quick buck, but they weren't really marketing it as a straight ROI. Then they started a V2, and that failed and crashed because, the balance went to zero. And then they did a V3. It crashed and failed, and they went to a V4 even of Stable 1. So they did 4 straight Ponzi's in a row, and told their users, we're going to the moon, this is going to work. And each iteration left more and more people without basically holding the bag. And then they took off with Dragon's Den, and S-Rocket took off. I think they used a lot of the money that they made off of Stable 1 to put liquidity into S-Rocket. So basically they used a Ponzi to fund their token to make themselves a whole bunch of money, which that's what they're there for. They're there to make money. And then they started StableFund and said they were going to provide all this money for people, 1.5% daily. And the problem I have with this is people saw they had a problem in their contract, so then they started to bail on their contracts, rightfully so. The first principle of investing is protect your capital. So, that's, people are doing exactly what they should have done, is, get out of it as soon as they could when they saw programming problems, because, DeFi, not everybody's used to getting a refund. So everybody bails on the contracts, and it removes liquidity, or it removes the balance in the contracts. Now, the problem that I have is their explanation of what was happening behind the scenes. They said that their trader, even though it's supposed to be AI bots, and now they say they have a whole trading team. I'm not sure exactly if it's actually AI bots or if they just have some guys sitting there doing trading. Anyway, when they pulled all that out, at the same time, the market was having a problem, and they said they needed to have those funds to prevent being liquidated from their positions. That tells me one thing, that they were in super high risk, like futures trading, which is very high risk. You can make a lot, but you can also lose a whole lot. And if you don't have the funds, after if your differential is high enough, you can become liquidated and lose everything that you put into a trade. So if they were to the point where they were about to be liquidated and they had to remove funds, their trading was not going very well. And they said they lost, 3 days in a row. But if they overextend themselves to the point where 3 days of trading is going to bring down everything and liquidate everything, they were not in very good trades to begin with. There was not a lot of volatility in the markets at that time. Things were actually somewhat going up slightly, not a lot. They were just kind of on a slow crawl up. And then they just ripped everything out. At the same time, a few days before, their contract for this one, the Matic version of StableFund, they call it a looping issue, but really what happens is, let me pull up the contract. I've got it here. They've got this whole thing. They've got a deposit structure, and then they treat every single deposit as its own entity under an investor. Now that's fine, but the problem is when people, every day they take out some and reinvest it, it creates a new deposit. And after you get to about 100, it's this exact same problem that they got themselves into in StableFund earlier this year. Same kind of coding problem. They had too many deposits listed under a user, and Polygon didn't allow that on their network. They still didn't allow it. They didn't change anything. They don't give these guys unlimited databases to build whatever the heck they want and take up huge amounts of data on their blockchain. So they have limits, and rightfully so. But instead of just creating a local database and then have a running balance that's earning, and then have dates that expire different parts of that balance, blah blah blah, you can create that a different way, so then it's just one balance. They just had all these individual things, and it basically crashed. People got up to 100 deposits, and then when they try to deposit again, your gas fees were like 5 or 10 Matic, and you couldn't do it because it would fail. So basically that brought down the Matic thing. They removed all the funds and said, hey, we're going to fix this and move everybody's funds over. Then people started bailing on BNB and BUSD because they saw the same problems. Because honestly, it would have taken longer, but the BNB, the Binance Smart Chain, has a limit of like 200. So another 3 or 4 months, they would have had to fix the same thing in the Binance Smart Chain as well. So anyway, that all happened. So they just said, hey, we're gonna have a V2. They had this AMA, and I listened to it. I don't know. I wanted to play parts of it on here, but I was appalled at what Michael or Ray did. He basically blamed everybody for his coding problems, his coding mistakes, and bad trading. I think it was bad trading. Nobody knows what was actually being invested in or traded, but if what happened is what they say happened, then he's blaming people for protecting their capital. And he's got Stable whatever has had a huge problem with code quality that I don't know, it seems like they just can't get away from problems in their contracts. Now I don't know if this is for a reason why they just want to get into this stuff, run it for a while, and just have an excuse to bail. I don't know what they're doing, but I don't know. I'm just not confident in their abilities to code, and with this one, history repeated itself. That's what it does. I mean, with people that don't learn from their lessons, they're not. They don't listen to people. They don't listen to people's criticism. I mean, some people criticize just to criticize, but some people are like, hey, fix this, make this better. They want something that's better, and I don't think they could take that, and they just kind of kept going on the same path, and that's what we're doing. So when people are like, hey, are you getting into V2? No, I'm not. I'm done with Michael or Ray or whatever his name is. I've seen enough mistakes. I've seen enough bad code that I'm not confident in his ability to put out products or projects in DeFi that are reliable and are, have few bugs, and their code it's just not solid. So I'm just not confident that that's gonna work out for anybody in the long run. A lot of people did make some money out of this. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that were locked into this and they kept compounding, and all they're going to get back is their initial investment, which is like 4 or 5 months of basically they didn't make anything with that money. So, and the way the world is right now with inflation, you basically lost money. You might as well just grab cash and stuck it in under your mattress for 6 months. That's kind of the investment it turned into. And it was just appalling to hear that AMA that, Michael, that took 3% of every single deposit, and, it was like $120 something million invested into this thing. Basically blamed everybody else and said that they stole from him. That was just crazy. It was insane, and it was not fair to people. And then to hear people on that same AMA just say, hey, we're still going to follow you into V2 was just, it was surprising to hear. I did hear some people on there were just like, what the heck, man? And they just cut them off and got them out of there. But, but it was just crazy that he got all angry and mad that people were protecting their capital. When people see problems in a DApp, they're going to withdraw whatever they can and get out as soon as they can. And that's what's going to happen. And you're like any smart investor, he says he's only going to allow mature investors in his next DApp. I think what he means is he's only going to allow those that are willing to put up with anything, and will let him just hold their funds, indefinitely or something. I don't know what he considers a mature investor, but somebody protecting their capital is somebody that I would say is a mature investor. Anyway, that is StableFund. That's my views on them. I did put a little bag in, and I'm still waiting for my refund as well. So, whatever, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And I got taken on being fooled twice, so it's not going to happen a third time. Anyway, guys, that's StableFund. The next one I want to talk about is Optimus. This one, people have been talking about. It's run by DeFi dude, and it's kind of what he focuses his whole channel around now is Optimus. And it's a similar thing where AI trading bots are the revenue for the holders, and you get 1% a day. And they do provide summaries. I've seen where they provide summaries and stuff of their trading, but there's nothing like specific that they throw out there. When they open or close trades and stuff like that. I don't know, maybe I haven't seen it yet, and maybe it's on somebody's channel somewhere. But anyway, they just did a round. They started a DAO. So if you're holding, you go into Discord, they've got a DAO going on. Yeah. Anyway, just to give you guys history on this, and I don't want to like belabor this point, but I feel it's right for me to tell people about history of devs if I know it. I'm not gonna hide anything from anybody. I'm not gonna hold information back because somebody doesn't want something to come out or something. I'm very transparent. Back on my channel, when was this? It was earlier this year, like February, March. Multimatic came out as another ROI DApp. And this thing it was, for an ROI DApp, it was okay. They started the Ultramatic. They started token everything. And what happened is they had this snooze functionality where you could snooze your locked up investment. So if you were in 14 days and you could watch the the contract balance. And if it didn't look like it was going down, you could snooze it every day or for another week or something, before you could withdraw, before you decided to withdraw. So you could keep making money, and you kind of watch the balance, and if it starts to drop, then you could withdraw. But while you're waiting, you could continue to snooze and make more money day after day. Well, the balance started falling a little bit, and the developers of this changed the withdraw button on the front end to make it trigger the snooze function to make people snooze their investment for 7 days. They thought they were hitting withdraw. Well, they were hitting withdraw, but that button forced them into snoozing or freezing their funds in for another like 7 days. And then the contract balance fell, and all those people that thought they withdrew before or were going to got locked up and were confused. And this turned into this big thing because I really pushed this hard. I knew the developers behind it. And it was tough because, I really pushed for these guys and I put faith in them. And then they did this. And then a lot of my subscribers are like, what the heck, man? Why? You must be in on this. And I was not in on this decision. I didn't say, hey, let's snooze everybody's withdraws. It was just kind of a shady thing that they did. And anyway, after this, these guys went on to create more dApps. They created Dappy, which is a thing where you could go create your own investment pools and things like that for other people. And then they teamed up with DeFi Dude and Optimus. So they're the same developers behind Optimus, is from Multimatic back in the day. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to do this again. I actually have faith, and I am very optimistic that they learned from that. And I don't think they're going to do that kind of thing again with Optimus. I think they've also got a team around them that will kind of help steer them in that way if things do start going south. But that's just my opinions, and that's my view on Optimus. I just want to be transparent about who these devs are and kind of their history. And I do think that they've learned from what they did and realized that was, I think it was an early learning mistake. I think when contract balances go down, it can make people do things that are not what they would really do or normally do. So that's just kind of my view on that. Optimus, just like anything, I think 1% daily is great. I'm still kind of wary about people saying passive income in crypto, because I don't see anything in crypto being passive income, because is it going to be here in 3 years? There's not a good track record of projects being around that long in DeFi, so I'm leery on things calling themselves passive income, that they're going to last indefinitely. Anyway, guys, those are kind of my thoughts on these two projects. I think StableFund, they've got a track record of poor code, and it hasn't been fixed. Optimus, their developers early, I think, made some mistakes that hopefully they regret now, but I think they came out with a great product here with Optimus, and a great algorithm for keeping a somewhat stable coin here. Anyway, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like the video if you like it. Subscribe if you want to subscribe to the channel, and we will catch you in the next one.